Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. For those of you who are returning, thank you so much. For those of you who are new, my name is Casey and I'm from South Africa, and thank you for stumbling upon this channel or stumbling upon this video to watch it. Your support means a lot to me. So in today's video, I've been asked to film and talk about our journey from South Africa to the UK during the COVID pandemic and what it was like, what we had to do, what we went through. So I'm going to be speaking about that. I did film a little bit from South Africa to the UK, but I didn't film as much as I would have liked to. And when we got to the UK, my battery was really low, so I also couldn't really film. So let's get started. As many of you know, Matthew and I were supposed to be in the UK at the beginning of July, but obviously that didn't happen because of COVID, and we left on the 14th of August to get to the UK on the 15th of August. So this is what you needed to do. So on the UK government site, they've got a list of the repatriation flights that you can use, and we wanted to fly with Qatar because it was the cheapest and we've flown with them before, and they're such a great airline, and also we're allowed to bring extra luggage with us. So we got a travel agent who works for Dynamic Travel. She's absolutely amazing, and she helped us book our flights through Qatar. So we paid 10,071 Rand per person, plus their fee of 450 Rand each per person. So obviously we paid 900 Rand, and after that we had to fill out documents. So this is what you needed to fill out. You needed to send an email to the South African government website stating that you're going to fly. You had to give your flight number, when you're traveling, where you're from, if you're a citizen, do you have like a permit to go over, like all that information that was needed. And then there would be an automated reply from them, which we got straight away. And then we had to fill out 48 hours before a health form for South Africa. So you print it out and you can just write it with pen, and obviously they just asked you questions related to the COVID-19. And then we had to fill out another form from the UK government and stating where we're going to be listen to me, where we're going to be staying during our 14-day quarantine. And then we had to also get a letter from the embassy in Pretoria, the UK embassy in Pretoria, to say we're allowed to travel. So once we got that, we obviously printed my paperwork, and then we printed Matthew's paperwork, and then I put it into little plastic sleeves with his passport and my passport. And then a lot of people were asking if, obviously we're moving back to the UK, so do we have any extra luggage to take with us? So we used a company called U-Bag, where we sent 3 suitcases over with them, and obviously they allocated a specific airline, and that airline took our 3 suitcases back with them, and it's a door-to-door service basically. So we actually dropped them off. They're situated in Rhodesfield in Kempton Park, Johannesburg, South Africa, and once we did that, we dropped them off, and then they obviously took charge with the whole process. And once it landed in England, it's going to be obviously delivered to my in-laws' door, which was so easy and so handy for us. So now at least we know all of our stuff is in the UK with us, and we don't have to worry about sending stuff from South Africa to the UK. So when we printed all the paperwork, we had to also print our flight details and obviously that was also included, well, put into the sleeve that I made for us. And then we had to meet. Initially, we were flying at 6:30 to the airport. Listen to me. We were flying at 6:30 to Doha in Qatar, and then a flight time changed, and then we were supposed to leave at 8:30, and we were supposed to meet at the embassy 4 hours before the flight. So we had to meet at the Qatar embassy in Pretoria at 4:30, but then we had an email from her name's Tracy King, so I think she's like the account manager or the marketing manager of the Southern Africa of Qatar, and she said no, we have to meet at 2. So obviously, like, Matthew and I were frustrated because now our journey is going to be longer and we're just going to be sitting around waiting, like counting ants that are crawling along the floor. But anyway, so we obviously told my family that plans have changed, we're meeting at 2. So we left at 1:15 to get to the Qatar embassy in Pretoria at 2, and what you had to do was, there's like 2 offices where you had to go through, and you had to go to the office, and the receptionist there had to tick your name off the flight list and put like an orange sticker on your passport, and then they sent you outside. And luckily we've got a friend who works for Qatar, and she was there to help us, and she helped us quite a bit, so thank you so much, Sam, we really appreciate it. And she just obviously said that you need to line up behind people because there were 13 coaches or buses, and they had the first 3, I think, were for business class, the elderly, disabled, and families. So specifically they wanted the children with their mothers to go on the bus. Here are the buses we'll be going in to the airport. So that's what happened, and then we caught the second last bus, which was okay because we spent a longer time with my parents, and then by that stage when we got on, my brother, so we just caught the bus, and it was so cool. We actually got escorted by the cops, by the police. So there were, I think, well, from what I saw, were 4 cars, and we had to drive with the hazards on, and once we came upon robots, or we call traffic lights robots in South Africa. So once we came upon them, the police put the sirens on, and then they blocked all the roads and all the cars. And then obviously we just drove past, and then we were even driving the fast lane, which was so cool. So this off-ramp here, or this junction, is where we take to go to my family home. There you go over the bridge, this off-ramp here, this junction over there, you get to the robots and you turn right over the bridge to go to my family home. I don't know if you could see that sign, but it says Pomona. And then we got to the airport and we were waiting in the line. So I think there were probably 8 or 7 buses, if I'm not mistaken. So now we've approached the airport, and now the procedure is we get off the bus, we lay all our luggage on the sides of the pavements, and then the K9 unit comes to sniff, and then we hand in our South African health check form to the officers, or the patrol officers, or the health safety officers, and then we go check in and wait, and then we board a flight. waiting in the line and just waiting to see what we needed to do. And we were just waiting. So I think we got to the airport at 4:15, if I'm not mistaken. And then we were waiting. And by the time we actually got off the bus was, I think, 10 to 6. But prior to that, we were waiting for another 2 hours on the bus at the embassy in Victoria. So in total, we were on that bus for 4 hours. And the procedure was, obviously, once you got to the airport doors, you get off, you quickly leave your luggage. They tell you to drop your luggage your hand luggage onto the yellow line. They've already taken your hand luggage out the bottom of the bus, or like the bottom compartment of the bus, and they've put it on the other side of the bus along the pavement. And then they've got a canine unit that comes, and obviously the dogs sniff all the bags and do what they need to do. And then we have to quickly get our bags. And then once we got our bags, this is important information. Before that, you need to wear a mask, and they're very strict about wearing a mask, and you need to wear gloves. And it was a requirement stipulated in the email that was sent from that lady who is like the head of Southern Africa, the Tracy King woman. So most of us didn't. I mean, I did get gloves, but we just didn't wear them because there's no point. I personally don't see a point of wearing gloves. And anyway, so once the dogs finished sniffing our bags, we could get our luggage, including our main luggage. And then we had to go through the doors, but then there were cops at the airport doors asking us to get our South African health form out. And once we've done that, we had to wait until the cop said to us, listen, you can go to those. There were these 2 ladies up in front taking your temperature and obviously taking your health forms in. So in a way, as we are walking upon the 2 ladies, the one lady was taking our temperature, and then she obviously showed us our temperature, and then she wrote it, the other lady actually wrote it down on the health check form, and then we were allowed to proceed to the check-in desk. And obviously the plane was full because everyone was going from Joburg, so from Earl Tambo to Doha, and then from there they go their own ways. And in a way we were waiting in line, but I think we waited there for like an hour and a half behind this couple, I think, that were going to Australia. But it was actually so sad because when we left the embassy, 20 people were left behind and their flights were cancelled. And we know that we're talking to a girl from Australia. Well, she's actually from South Africa, but she lives in Australia, and her flight got cancelled about 4 times, which I felt so sorry for. And I mean, there were other people that were waiting. Obviously their flight got cancelled as well. But when the girl left Cape Town, because she was actually visiting her grandmother in Cape Town, when the girl left Cape Town, on her flight, she got an email saying that her flight got cancelled. Then her parents got involved and obviously phoned the airline and said, listen, my daughter has no money, she's by herself, she is 19 years old, can she please just come home? And they made a plan, and she actually landed up flying with us and then making her way to Australia. But her layover was really long. I think she had to wait 22 hours. And then obviously now we're waiting in line, and then we made a little friend along our journey, and he was going to Plymouth, so he was flying with us to the UK, and we were just chatting, and he even said this line is moving slow. So he went to another line and he got through. And Matthew and I waited for another 20 minutes, and I said, no babe, come, there's no person here in the other line, let's just go there and then let's just go through. And so we went through really quickly, which we wanted, and we were over 30 kilos on our main luggage. So I think in total we were 800 grams over, which they didn't do anything, which we're really thankful for. Our hand luggage was also over, but they didn't even check our hand luggage, which we were also quite happy about, because I think that our hand luggage in total was probably 2 kilos over. And I know if you got 1 kilo over, I think you have to pay 500 rand, if I'm not mistaken. And then, so anyway, we went through, and then we had to obviously we had to go to the immigration officers where they checked our passports, and then we went through. So as you can see, all of the shops are closed. All of it. And then we didn't really wait long to board, because I think our whole check-in process was really long. And now we actually understand why we had to be at the Pretoria Embassy, the Qatar Embassy in Pretoria at 2 o'clock, because it was a long process. And then once we were boarding the plane, you need to wear face shields. They're very strict about that. So Qatar supplies the face shields. You need to put it on before you board that aircraft. And then once you get into the aircraft, obviously you go to your seats, and then so now we're in our seats and we're waiting to go, and an hour goes past. And I looked at Matthew, I was like, now what is going on? Like, we should have taken off already. And when we landed in Doha, we had a 45-minute layover, and we needed to rush to get to our flights to London. So, like, we were worried that we would have missed our flight. So anyway, we were waiting, and then the pilot comes on and he says that the boarding process was slow, the check-in process was slow. There was not a lot of check-in counters that were open. A group of passengers decided to come late, and they had to go find this group of passengers. And 3 passengers didn't turn up, but their luggage was already in the cargo hold, so the ground staff had to remove everyone's luggage and find these 3 passengers' luggage to remove it and then put our luggage back in. So that whole process was so long. So to those 3 passengers, thank you very much. And then we obviously were waiting, and then once that was done, we took off. And it was like an 8-hour and 20-minute journey, so the pilot tried to make time up in the air, but obviously didn't. And we landed in Doha, and we were like in a rush, because obviously we had to catch our flight to London. But before that, Matthew says to me, no, we've missed it. So I said yes. So while waiting on the plane to disembark the plane, like, we turned around to our friend, and he just shook his head, and I just went like this, because we knew we missed it. So anyway, while walking to the Doha airport, there were the staff with signboards saying London flights. So obviously we knew we had to go there, and we went there, and she apologized, and she said, listen, you did miss your connection flight, but here is a complimentary meal voucher at this restaurant, and there are sleeping pods, and you're going to be leaving at this time. So we landed, I think, at 7:20, and we were leaving at, I think, 3:20 that afternoon. So we had like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, like an 8 to 9 hour wait. Hi everyone, welcome back to my vlog. Now we're walking through Qatar airport, and our flight was great, but anyway. So now obviously, like, we're a bit annoyed, because now we were planning on getting to the UK at I think it was 2 o'clock. That was the initial time we were supposed to leave. To land in the UK. And then we were supposed to get to Bristol at 4 o'clock, because we needed to catch a coach from Heathrow to Bristol train station to Bristol bus station, and then obviously catch a taxi to our hotel we were staying in for quarantine. And we had to quickly make alternative arrangements, and obviously we got hold of my father-in-law, which she sorted everything out for us, and then the hotel emailed us, and they said, listen, this is how you get your key, and like, you are fine. So we were fine about that. So Matthew and I went to the restaurants and we got a breakfast. Okay, so Matthew and I are going to go get food before our flight. So we're just looking at where to go. Yeah, this is part of Qatar Airport. This is the big teddy bear. Which was okay, like we actually grateful we got this complimentary breakfast, but it wasn't the best. And then we said, let's just go to the sleeping pods and then just rest. So we went to the sleeping pods and we rested. So this is where Matthew and I slept. Obviously we didn't fall into deep sleeps because we had to watch our bags and just obviously be aware of time. Even though, like, I did set an alarm clock on my phone. And then we woke up, we refreshened ourselves, and then we went to have a quick bite to eat. So we ordered a margherita pizza and fries and 2 cold drinks before we obviously boarded our next flights from Doha to London. Hopefully you can see nicely, Matthew and I are now boarding our aircraft from Doha to London. Zone number 2. How weird do we look? Anyway, we'll see you soon. I'll see you on the other side. And then we got onto the plane from Doha to London, and that was like a 6-hour and 20-minute journey, which wasn't bad at all. I watched 3 movies, I think, and I played games. And then we ate, like, the food on the plane was really good. So initially, before we flew, I asked my travel agents to obviously book a vegetarian meal for me, and she did that, but then something happened and they said there's no vegetarian meals on board. So then I contacted my friend who works for Qatar and I said, listen, like, I am a vegetarian, like, what must we do? So she said, don't worry, once you board the aircraft, speak to one of the cabin crew and just say, listen, you're vegetarian, and then they will reserve a meal for you, which I did. And it was a spinach and basil pesto pasta, and we got like a garlic bread, butter, then we had couscous with vegetables as a starter, and then we had chocolate mousse, like a toffee cheesecake. And did we have anything else for dessert? No, we just had that. And then on a flight from Doha to London, I also got that pasta again. And in the pasta it also had like peas, green beans and carrots. And then they were serving alcohol. And then we obviously landed in England. We quickly went to book a bus or coach from Heathrow to Bristol, and once we did that, we got something to eat and we were just sitting in the airport waiting. So we landed at, I think, was it 8:30 if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around there, and our coach was leaving at 20 to 11 at night, and we get to Bristol at 1 o'clock in the morning. Like, we were so tired and exhausted. I mean, I hardly slept on the plane. Matthew did most of the sleeping, and I just obviously slept on the coach, but I couldn't allow myself to go into deep sleep, and as it is, I am a light sleeper anyway. Hey everyone, just a quick update. Matthew and I arrived like an hour and a half ago. We're just waiting to catch our coach to Bristol. So we've been traveling for over 36 hours and we're just so tired, so we can't wait to get to the hotel. So we caught the coach and they were very strict, like, you have to wear your masks. You weren't allowed sitting next to each other on the coach. And once we got to Bristol train station, why am I saying train station? Bristol coach station or bus station, we got off, and then now we needed to catch a taxi. Now, bear in mind, this is like 1 in the morning. And luckily, as we walked out the door, there was a taxi already waiting, and we obviously asked him to take us to the hotel, which he did. And then we got there at about 1:20, and by that stage, it was like we were exhausted, and it was just so funny that when we landed, but before that Matthew said it's going to be raining. So when we landed, typical UK, it was raining. After we've heard about the heat wave and seen about the heat wave the UK was having, so we just like laughed and we shrugged it off. And then we got to the hotel, we got in, we quickly showered, jumped into bed. We only woke up, like I think we went to bed at probably 2, and then we woke up at 11, and like we were feeling fine, we were still tired, and then we just rested. We went to bed, I think at 9:30 that following night, so that Sunday night, so we went to bed. And then you're allowed to do this. So during your 14-day quarantine, if you don't have anyone to bring you food or groceries, you're allowed to go get your own, but you have to go there only and then come back. You're not allowed wandering around the town or meeting up with friends or whatever you want to do. You strictly need to go get your food and then come back, because if they find out you doing other things, you can get, I think it's a £3,000 fine or something ridiculous. So we quickly went to the Tesco's in Bristol city centre just to get food, and then we came back. So yes, that was our journey. Like, I mean, I think in total we were travelling for 37 hours just because we missed our flights. And I mean, if we didn't miss our flights, it would have not been that bad. This is the longest time Matthew and I have travelled for, but we've made it, and we're feeling a lot better. And the weather, I must say, has been actually lovely. Even though it hasn't been that hot, it's been humid, which I love. It just reminds me of the weather in Durban in South Africa. And yeah, so we've arrived, and oh yeah, sorry, I forgot to mention one thing. So we land in London and we had to go into the check-in desks, but we don't land at our normal terminal. We had to come out at Terminal 3. And once you land there, you have to catch a train to the next terminal, which I think was Terminal 5, if I'm not mistaken. So we caught a train there, which was quick. It was like a 2-minute train journey, so it wasn't that long at all. And then we obviously went into line, and people with the UK passport have their own line, and people with foreign passports had to go into their own line. And luckily, like Matthew and I rushed because I was the first one waiting at the foreign passport check-in desks by the immigration officers, because when I looked behind me, there was like a swarm of people, which I was like, shoo, I've made it. And we went in, and now I've come on an ancestral visa again, so this is my second time coming on an ancestral visa. I could have done a spousal visa, but it just wouldn't work out in the long run, and it would have been more expensive. And obviously the immigration officer checks everything for you, but once you get your visa, you get a letter from the UK Embassy in Pretoria stating that you need to go collect your biometric residence permit from an allocated post office near you. So obviously I chose one in Bristol because that's where we stay. And now you had to collect it within 14 days. Within 10 days. So I spoke to the immigration officer and I said, listen, what must we do? So he says, don't worry, you need to phone your post office because they're aware of what's going on, and then you can collect it after your 14-day quarantine is up. So I said, okay, fine. So I phoned the post office and I spoke to a lady, and she said, no, she understands, you can come collect it once everything is over. And this is new to me because when I initially came to the UK in 2013, I didn't have to collect any biometric residence permits from any post office. So this is completely new to me. So that's another thing. But other than that, it was a pleasant journey. Like, we didn't really mind the layover because we had something to eat and we actually rested and just walked around a bit. So if you've got any questions, I don't know what happened there. It just cut off. So for those of you who are wanting to travel from South Africa to the UK, you need to meet certain requirements. So you can either, I think there's 5 requirements, so you can either be married to a foreign national, you can either come over for work, and I just found out that on the bus actually from the embassy in Pretoria to the airport, we're talking to a man who's actually going to a European country. I can't remember what it's called. It's like it's a really small European country on the eastern side. Babe, babe, what was that European country called?
Kosovo.
Thank you. So it's called Kosovo, and he was going over there for work for, was it a week or 2 weeks? So initially I thought you're only allowed to go over for work for the long term, but you can go over for the short term and long term. You can go over to meet your family or for like a family reunion, medical purposes, study, and I think that's basically it. But that was during level 3, and I am aware now that it is level 2 in South Africa, so those things could have changed. So just double check on the requirements that you need, and yeah, try get a flight with Qatar because they are the cheapest repatriation flights, and yeah. So if you've got any more questions, please feel free to message me on Instagram, which I'll insert my Instagram handle for you to go follow me and message me. And also, please just ask me questions in the comments below and I'll happily help you. Thank you so much for watching. And please don't forget to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. I'm so sorry that the lighting is shocking as well. I'm trying my best to get the right lighting, but like all my ring lights are in my other luggage bags that I won't see for these 2 weeks. I only see them in 2 weeks' time. So yes, have a lovely day. Bye.